Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming in to talk about My Hero Academia chapter 273 on a Tuesday afternoon. I was delayed, have a lot of stuff going on in life. Maybe soon you will be seeing a different background here. Anyway, before we begin, there's a lot of things going on in the world. A lot of places are protesting and all that. America is on fire. So just to that, I want to say I do sincerely hope that if you're watching this video, I hope you are safe. And even if you are getting involved in activities later, I do hope you keep your eyes and your ears open and you lessen the risk that you are exposing yourself to. Be very careful. Anyway, that extends to everyone all over the world. For wherever else you might be having protests, maybe France, maybe Hong Kong, but still, stay safe. We are still in pandemic. That hasn't gone away. We're probably getting a second wave. Just keep that in mind. Everyone, again, be safe. Anyway, this is gonna be a great chapter to talk about. I had a lot of fun. It took about 2 hours to write up the script for the chapter analysis. That is not indicative of quality. That is only indicative of how much I love the sound of my own voice, which consequently is not that much. I sometimes feel that I sound like a prepubescent trombone. Anyway, point is, if you like hearing me talk, I got a lot of cool things to share with you for this chapter in terms of little details and analysis. Now, of course, we are going to begin with the general part and then we will do a page-by-page walkthrough. This week, the page-by-page walkthrough is the heavier chunk because there's a lot of things here I think that are worthy of dissection. So let's begin with the general stuff. And the first thing I want to say is that Xless actually mattered. Who would have thought he actually did something? Like, I actually legitimately thought he didn't do it, but he definitely did something. So what's important there is that this definitely strengthens the idea that the purpose of the arc is to balance Shigaraki. And when I say balance, I mean effectively neuter him, or at least depower him. Or at least delay him from reaching total power too soon. You gotta recall, Shigaraki got stopped at 75%. It's naive to say that that missing 25% is not going to manifest somehow. Now, in this chapter, we have the quirk bullets. They sort of got neutralized. So the big thing I want to take away from this is, because I brought this up with Mirko, but Xless, Bunny Girl, these people made a huge difference. And whatever happens in Hero Academia going forward until the moment that Shigaraki reaches 100%, any weaknesses that come about, you have to look back at Xless and Mirko and think, well, without these characters, we would have been in a much more terrible situation. This was actually a really great move for the author to do something good for this joke of a character that was Xless. At the end of the day, he made a very big move in destroying those bullets. He at the very least bought the hero's time. And then with Mirko, of course, always celebrate the fact that she pretty much guaranteed that Shigaraki wouldn't be at his worst. If it wasn't for her, we would not get to Shigaraki as quickly as we did. Okay, so there's that. The other point is in regards to Endeavor. So this is essentially a bet, and this is conditional on whether or not we get certain scenes for Endeavor. But Endeavor should not be dying to Shigaraki at this particular moment in time. And in terms of the narrative, my thing that's delaying me or preventing me from just offing Endeavor is that Endeavor moved his kids out of his house. And if you were watching the videos back around that time period, you might have remembered that I was saying that this is going to that kind of movement is going to warrant some kind of big reaction. If Endeavor was a no-name character, or if he was a once-in-an-arc character, like he just got an arc spotlight, I would tell you, like, we don't have to take it into consideration, but Endeavor gets so much screen time that he needs to suffer for the choices he makes. In this case, the kids have been moved out of the house. What we need to get is specifically a situation where Endeavor comes to regret the choice of moving them out of the house. There has to be a situation that can only happen because Endeavor isn't around. And here's the thing. If Endeavor dies, the narrative value that you got from moving Endeavor's kids out of the house is minimized. There is still some value there, and the author does have enough room to pivot at the last minute if he gets this really cool idea. But again, because Endeavor warrants so much attention, it's what dissuades me from thinking he's going to die here. If you kill him, you can't exact that really sadistic kind of pleasure that you would get from making Endeavor be upset about separating his family from him. So that's the big thing. So for Endeavor to die, we need to see a lot of internal monologues. We need to see a lot of death flags, in other words, before I'm willing to kill off the character. But we might get that in the next 3 chapters. That's the thing. If the author starts doing weird movements, I will definitely let you know, like, okay, these are weird movements. Next, another good chunk, I think it's the Gigantomachia order. I'm just going to say that for this part, I really do hope he takes the prominent designs. Like, there's so many cool designs that the author put time into making. Some of them, like, you could kind of tell were kind of throwaway. But I do hope that Gigantomachia takes a good chunk of the unique designs. Because I'm really hoping we're not just left with the vanilla Villain League members. Although, as we get into that part later, I'll tell you why I think that's likely. Because Dabi does things in this chapter that are kind of disappointing. So we'll talk about that as we get to it. Anyway, let's begin with the page by page walkthrough. I hope all of you are enjoying things so far, and we are 6 minutes in. Excellent. Okay, so page 1. This is honestly, in terms of my script, this is a pretty useless page. I mean, like, you know, the first pages of a chapter are always the ones that remind you what we're doing. So you can't really do much against that. That's just how it works. Very rarely do we have a page 1 that has more than like 3 lines on my script. But okay, the big thing here is that Izuku's impact fails, as it should. I'm very happy with that. If that fails, that's good. Good that Izuku did nothing. Honestly, I'm really happy with that, because that keeps some semblance of like, okay, that was actually a really stupid move. And when I say stupid move, I don't mean like it was useless. I don't mean like a kick should not stop Decay, which it didn't. So what does that mean for the Pussycats? I don't know, but I'm very excited. I hope to see some carnage. I hope to see crying kids. We move into page 2 and 3 because there's not much details there. On page 2, we have Ochako giving us context about what she's seeing. This is really important. It's important that the author frames how we should think about Decay. And now Izuku has some interesting stuff going on here. One, he identifies that it's Shigaraki specifically. So that implies that One For All didn't just say it was Shigaraki. Like, Izuku still has to go through his flashback sequence. And that makes sense. There's no reason to expect that One For All can detect who has All For One. He's just detecting All For One. But that does raise some interesting implications about who exactly is the transcendent being. Anyway, this also tells us that most likely Nana isn't able to communicate to One For All that her grandson is the one that got it, which is good. We don't want Nana inside of the Shigaraki system. Now, another thing for Izuku is that Izuku's eyes are sparking. The last time I saw this was during the Shizaki fight when Izuku approached 100%. So I need your guys' second eyes because I don't remember. And Sarge, if you're there, definitely your input here. I want to ask, were there any other times that Izuku sparked from his eyes? Like, I didn't have time to go back all the way since Overhaul. I could only go back 10 chapters in the sake of time. But if there aren't any other times where Izuku's eyes are sparking as well, I think he just crossed into 50%, because 50%, that makes sense. Like, in terms of the visual, it makes sense that he would like start overflowing at 50%, because 50% is like, it's a benchmark type number. And in terms of the situation, it makes sense that Izuku crept a few percentiles up. I mean, he's in a situation where every little bit matters. Next, we have Shoto coming in with the heaven-piercing ice wall, and he's walling to disintegrate. Now, if you take a closer look here at his panel, Shoto pulls it when Izuku is still mid-air. Shoto came in immediately after Izuku, affording people a few more seconds. I think he did a little bit more than Izuku did, honestly, given how quickly everything happens. I will say, though, it is kind of interesting that Izuku stayed in the air long enough for Ochako to say that his kick didn't work, and for everyone else to have the moments of observation. Does that say that Izuku has float? I'm not going to say that, but the choreography and the timing here, suspicious. But again, you can't be sure because manga time flows. Well, you can't tell how long manga time flows. The good thing here to note, though, is that if this was after Izuku made the jump, Shoto was coming up right behind him. So, like, it's just good to note that Shoto was coming in fast while Ochako and Tsuyu were running. And no disrespect to Ochako and Tsuyu running, like, they can't do anything here. They're like, They are rescue heroes, not prevention heroes, if you get what I mean. Okay, page 4 to 5 is by far one of the biggest chunks of the analysis. It's a page of writing, so here we go. So this page actually, I have a note on writing for it, which is really exciting because we don't get the opportunity to do literary analysis often. So here's the premise. Writing blogs and people who give advice about writing sometimes describe a thing called the author's hand or the writer's pen or the author's pen, whatever. I don't know if it has a name that everyone refers to it as, but let's just say the writer's pen, right? And the best way to explain it is like this. Imagine reading the following in text. Shigaraki, Izuku said tensely. Heaven-piercing wall, Shoto said loudly. Run, people, Burning said desperately. The writer's pen refers to when the person writing the story peeks out from behind the story's rhetoric. The reason that this example would provoke that is because of the uninspired repetition in the dialogue tags, and this is why people advise changing up your dialogue and your style. You don't want readers getting distracted by your uninspired style or just the patterns in your style. Now, it's a bit harder to apply this to manga, but you gotta maintain the spirit. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but page 4 to 5 does give us something that might be a peek into the author's mind behind the story, and it all relies on Burning's dialogue. Here's the trick. Burning is calling the hospital. From there she calls Endeavor, and then she calls Ryukyu. And those bubbles are juxtaposed against Shoto and Nejire. Now, in the previous chapter, I bet that Ryukyu would die, and some of you said nah, and that's totally reasonable. And my reason was that Nejire needs some help with character development, so that would be a good provocation for her. It was honestly a bit bloodthirsty, but come on, we're having fun, right? But when I read this page though, what I understand is that the author is saying that Nejire would indeed be impacted by Ryukyu's passing or her being endangered the most. And that sounds super obvious, because that's her intern, obvious, but it's actually really important that the author acknowledges it. When he has that panel, we can say that he definitely has the Nejire and Ryukyu relationship in mind. It indicates that there might be a payoff in the future for this build-up. And the reason that that's important is because Nejire gets shafted in comparison to Sun Eater and Mirio. Let's face it, Sun Eater and Mirio and their relationships with their mentors, Night Eye and Fat Gum, is significantly more developed than whatever is going on with Ryukyu and Nejire. Now, that by itself isn't really the author's pen showing itself. The real tell here that the author wants readers to know that this is an active idea in his head is Burning's choice in who she's calling. Burning calls Endeavor. That makes sense. Why didn't she descend down the chain of command to Mirko, and then to Crust, and then maybe Wash? What about her fellow sidekicks that work for Endeavor, that were with Endeavor, that we know are on Ryukyu? Now, as fans, you might say, maybe Burning is closer to Ryukyu than the other heroes. Maybe the presence of Ryukyu's team influences her choices, but that's your assumption, and it 100% works. But what I'm saying is, this is where we see the author's mindset. Ryukyu's name is called out after Endeavor's because it's the only one that has narrative value. There's no value in calling out Crust or Wash because Crust is dead, and Wash's only link is Koda, who honestly doesn't really matter all that much. Of course, there's no point calling the sidekicks, even though they are the most logical choice after Endeavor. But anyway, the fact that Ryukyu gets called out specifically tells me that the author is going to have a Nejire Ryukyu moment at some point later down the line. Now, you might say, that was a lot, Trip, to just say that Ryukyu and Nejire are getting a moment later. But that's just how I read Hero Academia. I thought it was just being nice for you guys to understand where I'm tackling things from. I just think that you have to ask why scenes happen the way they do, because at the end of the day, there is someone going, oh, I should imply that Nejire is concerned about Ryukyu. That's ultimately the choice that happened in that panel, and we have to ask why did the author bother doing that. Now, onto the rest of the page. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Bakugo is carrying someone in his mouth as he's propelling away. Ochako is using her whip to pull someone. Really cool. Suyu has someone in her tongue. Nejire's energy is able to carry stuff, which just says amazing control on Nejire's part. And Manga's creating stuff for Decay to have to deal with, so he's being amazing. Ida is alive. which will be very interesting. Very interesting that the author chose to show off Ida in that particular panel. And then we have Izuku pulling a bus and heroes on the bus along with him. That's so cool, Izuku, man. You blessed, you little MVP, man. Do your best, Izuku. Actually, like as I was writing that line in the script, I almost had a tear. It's just so cool, man. Look at that kid, man. Just him by himself. He's carrying a whole bus. He's almost like All Might in that video that started it all, man. Like, beautiful kid. Oh, precious, man. I'm almost tearing up. It's just like it feels so good, right? Not only is he pulling off Black Whip so well, but it's like it's Izuku of all people. He's living up to the hype, man. Good for him. Like at least I got one. You know, if Izuku went from being the guy I ragged on the most, there's still hope for Dabi, right? Like, that's what I always feel. Anyway, moving away from Izuku. There's also a turtle hero in that. I thought that was cool. And then, yeah, we also had Koda with his animal parade running away. That was pretty cool. One thing I want to note here is that across page 4 to 5, we started with Izuku running away from Decay. And then by page 5, we have him hooking onto a bus. And that wasn't anywhere on page 4, which of course says that we had a passage of time. It's actually kind of interesting how drastic that was between the two pages. Okay, we got page 6 and 7, and this is another big page, but we'll talk more about it on the page 8, page 9 section. But yeah, I do want your guys' inputs for what we're seeing on page 6 and 7 here. We see that Shigaraki is standing on a lone pillar and that he is not continuing decay, as in he is not touching the ground right now. So I want to know, to me, page 6 indicates that decay is still spreading. So do we want to say decay still propagates even after Shigaraki isn't touching it? Or do you think it's over by the time we see Shigaraki standing? Or do you think decay will probably stop an unspecified amount of time later? Like say Decay has like a 20-second delay between Shigaraki lifting his hand and the thing stopping. Like, let me know what you're thinking. For me, honestly, it ain't clear. I wish it was clearer. I wish we could get to see more shots of Shigaraki just talking and we see Decay going off in the background. But it doesn't happen, so I don't know. Now we'll move on to page 8 and 9 where we have more conversation going on here. So there's a lot of things here and we're going to tackle it piece by piece. Number 1, the bullets. We know this is the machine that Exilus thought. We know this is the machine that Exilus thought to break. You can tell by the plate. It seems to be implied, though, that this is the only batch of the bullets that the doc was able to make. That's good. That implies that without Eri, it's still a tough process to make the bullets, given the small amount that we had. But we do see that it's doable. It's also implied in the Viz translation that there is still a non-zero number of bullets available, given that Shigaraki says most and not all. Now, for me, I'm saying let's just get rid of the doctor and then we can finally say goodbye to a prolonged bullet plot and just say goodbye to Eri being in danger in general. Overhaul being mentioned, honestly, is most likely to remind people that the bullets came from the Overhaul arc. Long-running Shonen Jump manga have a tendency to add those little reminders when it's been a long time. There's actually nothing really wrong with having reminders, unless you do it in a pretty compromised way, which we'll see later because this chapter does have an example of it. I think, in my opinion. Second point, the situation with Decay. So first off, the statement, Shigaraki can choose when something decays should not be foreign. You should not be thinking this is impossible. His whole awakening during the villain fight was based around the idea that his mind was subconsciously limiting if decay would spread or not. Just the notion that the mind could do that then says that it's totally within the realm of possibility that Shigaraki could tell decay to not propagate around him. Now, from this line, though, we can say that Shigaraki's ability to communicate with Decay has probably improved. The fan translations, however, said that Shigaraki can now use it freely. So here's an interesting thought. We have Shigaraki's arm in the shot when he says it. Was Shigaraki actually saying that Decay doesn't hurt him now? Like there's not a drawback to using it, therefore he could use it freely? It's really interesting when we have conflicting translations. Regardless, it's important to see that Shigaraki doesn't have any recoil damage because we know that that was something that he got from the villain, from using it in the villain fight. We do have another interesting thing though in these shots. In all shots on page 8 to 9, Shigaraki isn't holding items with all fingers. The boy is still living out the habits from his uncontrollable Decay days. It's actually really cool that the author remembered to do this. Okay, point 3, we had the PDA, it was still on the ground. We saw that the PDA was still active when President Mike blasted the tube, so it's cool to see it come back here. I think I mentioned it also being active. You know, overall, the PDA is a simple solution. Here I was overcomplicating things, thinking Shigaraki was going to be telepathic in order to be able to communicate to Machia, but nah, the author just has a miracle device right there. You know what? Cool stuff. I was being stupid. Stupid Trip. Do better. Okay, so next, point 4. And this is a point for the villain apologists. The villain apologists are very quickly to berate the heroes for not taking the time to understand the villains. And here's why I think that's a bad approach. It's nonsensical to berate the heroes for not understanding the villains when the villains themselves don't understand themselves. Shigaraki is a hodgepodge of trauma filled with feelings that he doesn't understand and can only lash out, and now he's hearing voices. Which, you know, actually, you know what? No, not gonna say it. You guys know where I stand on the whole Shigaraki and One for All relationship right now. Anyway, yeah, Shigaraki's hearing painful voices. Dabi bleeds when he thinks about a hero that he killed. Twice has a brain injury. And Toga, well, we'll get to Toga at the end. The point of this point is just to point out that Shigaraki is ultimately on a trajectory where it looks like he realistically could be redeemed or saved. And when he does get saved, it's going to be a hero saving him. If there is something that the author is doing in these chapters, it's saying that there is more resistance in Shigaraki than we thought. And when you look at this voice, you got to ask, why show it? Why show something inside of Shigaraki hurting him, saying the last little bit of destroy? Why do that when apparently Shigaraki's whole thing is to destroy? The fact that there's another voice urging him to do it is starting to tell you that these thoughts do not exclusively belong to Shigaraki. And really, there's no reason to be telling Shigaraki to destroy things when he's going to go ahead and destroy it. Just keep that in mind. This is like, look, man, this is just textbook setup for someone about to be redeemed from their own demons. Anyway, big thing you should take away from this is that the author wants us to fully know that there is another presence inside of Shigaraki. 5. Shigaraki's missing fingers, so he doesn't have a regeneration quirk, so woo, that's pretty great. Let's see. Oh, one more thing, actually. Shigaraki talks about a plan starting early, and then I see what Dabi does in this chapter, and it's like... Yeah, that's what Shigaraki's saying. The plan was supposed to start right after I woke up. Yep. It's probably that. It's probably whatever plan they got cooked up with the Liberation Front, although, like, I wouldn't be surprised if Shigaraki's about to pull a betrayal. Anyway, page 10 to 11, it's a beautifully simple page. I like that Shigaraki said to bring the others and told Machia to come to him. So that order innately minimizes damage. And I know he followed it by saying this is when we destroy everything. But I feel like at worst, that'll manifest in Machia destroying stuff as he goes to Shigaraki. So I'm just... The thing is, I'm just curious as to who exactly others applies to. Like, how wide is others? Does that include everyone in the Liberation Army? Or does that include select fews? It's just interesting. I'm excited, though, because that means Machia is definitely going to cross Kirishima's group. And I'm very excited for that. I want to see what the author's going to do with that. So, page 12 to 13, little details. The author reminds us that the areas are 80 kilometers away. It's important because that's about to be a relevant detail. So, he's reminding us that. Page 12 doesn't really have much of value in terms of analysis. So it's a simple page, but it is worth noting that this guy's quirk is quite literally finger gun. And I think we have a surfer over here. On page 13, the most noteworthy thing is what this hero says to Toga. So let me just take you back to chapter 266, where this guy captures Toga. He captured her for all of a page before being nailed in the back of the head by Twice. That is not capturing. If this guy saw the other guy capture them, he could definitely see the one guy getting killed, man. Now, it may be translation issues, but it ultimately stems from the fact that the author thought he had to remind people why this character was relevant. Anyway, no. The needs of the story just slightly bend the logic here. And again, this may be a translation exclusive problem. Again, if this guy could see that this guy caught Toga, he could see that that guy got nailed in the back of the head. At least in my humble opinion. Anyway, that was just a funny page. Going into page 14 and 15, the page 14, the most valuable thing is that some heroes do in fact block Toga. Page 15 though, Dabi asks Compress if he wants to blow this joint. I cannot describe the incredible degree of disappointment when all of this came together in my head, when this all clicked. Of course, Mr. I'm gonna roast myself like a pig at a Cuban party, Dabi, is going to cut loose and run away. Of course. Just when I thought Dabi was gonna be respectable, man. Just when I thought, like, my god, Dabi, you're such a loser. Jesus, man, pretending to be cool. Anyway, let's just reevaluate. In this chapter, Shigaraki is talking about plans getting started early, and given that Dabi is just going to leave with his buddies, at worst, it means that Shigaraki doesn't care about the overwhelming military might and already extracted what he wanted. So he's just going to take his peeps. Given that Dabi doesn't care, we can say that some of that sentiment is reflected in Shigaraki. At best, Shigaraki maybe will take a few people from the Liberation Front onto his side. Maybe he'll drag them along with him or something like that. But yeah, honestly, I'm sad. But I'm not really surprised that getting started early meant running away. Like, I'm not surprised that if you told me Dabi was just referring to running away, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have I wouldn't have argued. But yeah. I'm at a point where I'm just thinking, like, Dabi, please, maybe there's some kind of all-for-one plot twist that you got in your back pocket that you could, like, pull out, because otherwise you're a joke. Man, like, I wish I could have the sheer confidence to write a character as self-destructive and as pathetic as Dabi. Like, holy crap, man. That takes some real talent and some real balls to be able to pull off someone like Dabi. Oh my gosh. What a terrible character. I don't know how he does it. Phew, amazing author. Anyway, moving on. Other thing is that Toga cares, I guess. Like, he cares about Twice. Like, that's good to know. I'm sure Twice is rolling in his grave. Going into page 16, it's simple stuff. We see that Gang Orca countered the Hole Puncher. And he's the first to notice something coming from beneath, which was pretty neat. I was kind of wondering if he was going to be able to have that kind of sensory sonar, given he's an Orca. We also have Toga's rhetoric. Toga wants the world to be easy, and that's admirable. Like, I want that too. I want the world to be easy, especially in today's climate. Here's the problem. Toga doesn't respect personal space. She disrespects it so much that she takes your own space in your own bubble. So Toga's got an antisocial, anti-personal disposition. No one can let Toga get her way. And look, man, it's not her fault, right? Let's call quirks what they actually are for a little bit. Individualities. It sucks that Toga can't express her individuality. It sucks that what makes Toga Toga, her individuality, is related to other people's blood. It sucks that for her to express her individuality, she has to drink blood. Who knows what other associations she created in her brain? You guys know this, but when it comes to people who I think got a pretty bad shake in terms of society, it's La Brava and Toga, because those are the two people who have legitimate psychological concerns. For La Brava, I wouldn't be surprised if La Brava feels love more than other people do. That wouldn't be surprising, in the same way that Toga feels some fascination with blood in a way that we just could never fathom. I'm not going to blame these people for the dispositions they have in their brains, but they can be held accountable for what they ultimately choose to do. Anyway, Toga wants a world with the things that she loves, but Toga's love involves killing people who have nothing to do with her. But we can't let her make the world harder for everyone else that's managing to survive it. That's how I see this here. Like, the point of living is to try and make the place that you came into a little bit better upon leaving. Anyway, page 17 to 18, we have Shigaraki versus Endeavor. And the most exciting thing for me in this page, honestly, is just to see whether or not fire can be decayed. I have no idea how that's going to go. Anyway, guys, before editing, this video was 36 minutes. Crap, that is a lot. I wonder if I can edit before the live stream. Hope so. Anyway, it's quite a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed it. There's a lot of nice things to talk about. Last week, I was able to talk to a good bunch of you in that first day after the video was uploaded. So I'll be trying to do that this week as well. So I hope that'll work out. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if I missed anything down below. Let me know if I misinterpreted something as well, because that always happens. Don't take the Dabi criticisms too seriously. I just like making fun of Dabi, you guys know. I think he's just such a funny guy. But yeah, guys, let me know down below. And until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.